I tend to preach, more the philosophy of not so much the fancy cars, but more of building a personal relationship, build up the trust, show people you're authentic. And that's a great way you can do that for those of you listening. Like if you're trying to think like, how can I build that trust? How can I build that personal relationship with someone that I may never even talk to them? Like they may just be a follower in the dark. Like you don't really know who they are.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. Hello and welcome. This is Beate Gillette, your host to the Business Growth Architect Show. And today I have an exciting guest. It is Andy Isom. And Andy is going to tell us about his favorite strategy and spotlight on you. Andy, tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So, just a quick background about me. I studied business management in college, and that's when I kind of fell in love with business, entrepreneurship, and I've done all sorts of online businesses. I've done drop shipping, coaching, sold digital courses, Amazon, eCommerce, Shopify. So, a lot of different projects and things. And kind of what I've discovered over the past few years of doing this for about 8 years now, six to 8 years, depending on the project. Um, but it's the power and importance of branding. That's kind of what I've seen come to light in my own personal experiences, how important it is to uh, build your brand, whether that's your personal brand, if you're offering, services or coaching, or if that's a brand around an e-commerce based product, like the products that we have with our e-commerce brand on Amazon and Shopify. So that's kind of what I've discovered recently is like I said, the importance of branding and how that leads to a successful business.
So is that the favorite strategy you want to share with us?
Yeah, I would love to dive deep into that if you want to.
Well, it is your strategy. So, the entire idea of the one strategy is that we want to hear like the one strategy that's your favorite strategy that you go like if you knew nothing else, but this is the one strategy you need to know about. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so my strategy, and I'm going to try to make this apply. I know that there's listeners who have all sorts of different business models out there. So the one strategy that I would say is critical to success is building a brand. Okay, establishing yourself as a brand. So whether that's your personal brand, for example, I do coaching, so I coach people on how to start their Amazon businesses. Um, how to develop their own brand with their e-commerce products. And for that side of my business, I have to really focus on building up my personal brand, which means posting consistently on social media. So I'm posting on Twitter, I'm posting on Instagram, I have my own podcast, and really driving home that branding of my own name and likeness, Andy Isom. I have my own website, andyisom.com, and that's a really good place to start. Like, I actually heard this advice. I can't even remember who I heard it from originally, many, many years ago, like 8, 10 years ago. Someone said on some book or podcast, I feel bad that I can't remember who it was, but they said everyone should own their own domain name, meaning the domain name of their name. And I thought that was really profound. And it was kind of going off the philosophy of everyone should be building their personal brand. Even if you don't know exactly what you're going to sell yet, everyone should be focusing on building your own personal brand. Your own personal brand is kind of like your new resume. Resumes and cover letters. Sorry, I'm forgetting what those are called because I've been working for myself now. But resumes and cover letters, those things that you use to apply for jobs, um, those are kind of dying. And the world is kind of trending, at least in my opinion, more towards what is your personal brand? And that could be like even your LinkedIn profile. I know that that kind of is like, a resume of sorts, but the content that you're posting on there, what kind of content are you posting on your Instagram or your Twitter, your social media accounts? All that is building your own personal brand. And you don't know. Maybe 2 years down the road, an opportunity is going to arise, and you're going to be glad that you have, established a little bit of an audience, even if it's a few hundred, a few thousand followers. Doesn't have to be, this huge thing, but having a brand established can help you just like quickly launch an e-commerce brand. It can help you quickly launch a coaching platform, or whatever type of business model you want to pursue. So sorry, that was kind of long-winded from the personal brand side, for like my coaching, working on establishing that. But then also for physical products, if you're in the business of selling physical products, whether
Mhm.
that's on Amazon or Shopify, same sort of idea. And that's what I really drive home for my students, is the power and importance of branding. 5 years ago, the strategy of selling online was drop shipping. Like, you find a supplier in China, you drop ship directly to your customer. There's no branding, there's no customization. You just sell whatever the supplier is making. And it was the same thing with Amazon as well. People were just throwing generic kind of products up on Amazon, no branding, no awareness there. And it worked great 5 years ago, but the world is changing. It's becoming more and more competitive. There's more and more people trying to sell stuff on Amazon, sell stuff on their own websites. There's more and more people trying to sell digital courses. So you have to really establish yourself as a brand, because that's what builds trust. It all comes down to trust. And with so many voices out there and so many products and so much noise, that's what's really going to connect with your customers, if they feel a sense of trust and some sort of, personal connection with you.
I have a question for you. So, what I see a lot is that when, especially, young, let's say, young male entrepreneurs go out, that they try to make this the flashy brand, right? The look, this is me in my car. This is me in the Ferrari. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Is that a brand building, or is that not so good?
So I'm personally not a huge fan of that. To me, that's more like gimmicky sales strategy than like branding, in my opinion. Um, I will say lifestyle sells. Lifestyle sells really well. That's what people really want, is they want the lifestyle. So that's why you see so many of these advertisements with, you know, young people like me essentially in front of fancy cars. And I'm not here to say like, oh, those are fake or rented. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to
Who
accuse anyone of
cares?
that. Yeah. But the point being is, their whole strategy is kind of really trying to hook people with that lifestyle, saying, "Oh, forget about like, forget about the product or the course or the business model for a second. Just see me in my fancy car and you could have this." And it just gets people who are desperate, like, so like wound up in the idea of, I hate my life so much, I just really wish I could have a cool car and everything, all my problems would go away. And they just buy. They don't even care what the business model is. They don't even know if they trust the person. And then, they run into problems down the road because they didn't do their due diligence and figuring out, is this legitimate or not? So I'm definitely not a huge fan of that strategy. But for me personally, I try to connect with a different type of audience. I'm not really going for, um, you know,
Sell the
I hate,
dream.
yeah, I hate to single people out, but I'm not really going towards, those young, probably majority male, single, who are just really wanting the cars and the money to look good in front of friends, look good in front of women. That's not really my audience. I'm trying to more cater towards, young adults, older adults, like all ages, but more family oriented people. People who really put an emphasis on the family. Like, why are you doing this? You're doing this because you want to be able to spend more time with your kids, spend more time with your spouse, with your partner, with whoever it is, because you really value family and relationship and your time. You don't really care about the Lamborghinis and the fancy cars. You want to be able to, have a strong family relationship and have the time to build that relationship and do things together. So I tend to preach, more the philosophy of not so much the fancy cars, but more of building a personal relationship, build up the trust, show people you're authentic. And that's a great way you can do that. For those of you listening, like, if you're trying to think like, how can I build that trust? How can I build that personal relationship with someone that I may never even talk to them? Like, they may just be a follower in the dark. Like, you don't really know who they are, but it's by showing your true character and giving good, free, valuable information. So those are probably like the two main tips that I've seen work really well for me and for other people is don't be afraid to show your true character. Like I post videos on my Instagram where my hair is messy and my house is messy and that's just the way that life is, right? Like I'm not trying to put on this front that I have this perfect life and my house is perfect and amazing all the time. No, like I have a 2-year-old, he runs around, he makes messes, and people really connect with that. And they see like, wow, he actually is a normal human being. He's a normal person just like me, but he's building his own business and he finds a lot of joy and fulfillment in that. And then, all the free advice that I try to give out on my own podcast, that helps build that trust where people are like, yo, this guy is going out of his way to give us free information. Um, I might be willing to, pay him for his coaching services or whatever it is. So don't be afraid to give out free info. That's what I would say. Build that trust, show people that you know what you're talking about, and be authentic.
How do you design this personal brand? So, um, what I find, and I don't know if you see this a lot, but a lot of times people, when they come to me as a business consultant, they are not clear who they really are or what they want to be, right? So they are modeling this after some other image that they see, which is, I think, what you just referred to. This lifestyle thing is just it's just so tempting to go down because it's brainless, right? It's obvious. So what would you say to someone to build this authentic, real brand? Because I mean, judging from myself, when I was $135,000 in debt and broke, uh, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about when I sold my business for millions of dollars to Bill Gates. But but people go like, yeah, that's great, but tell us the story. And I don't want to tell the story until I realized, what you said, that that's the connection that they have to you. So what advice do you have for our listeners to help them to understand how do you hook that personal brand? How do you get clear on what that is if you're not sure?
That's a really good question. And I'm just thinking back to my own journey with my own businesses. And I actually fell into that trap, kind of like what you were talking about, of trying to mold my own brand after someone else who was successful. There's a lot of really successful entrepreneurs out there, right? Kind of in the personal branding, the coaching space. Um, you think about like I'm just thinking of people that maybe I follow or I know about, like the Dean Graziosis, the Tim Ferrisses, a lot of people in the finance world, and then there's the Gary Vaynerchuk's. A lot of people know him and know that name. Russell
Tony
Brunson,
Robbins. I mean,
yeah,
how
Tony.
many times has Tony Robbins been copied? Everybody who's jumping around up and down, high energy on any stage has been to Tony Robbins.
Right. Yeah, Tony Robbins, that's a great example as well. And that's the problem. I think so many people see these people, men and women. I felt Amy Porterfield. There's a lot of great men and women out there. And they see these people and they see the level of success they've reached, and they think, in order to reach that level of success, I have to do exactly what they're doing. And there is value in modeling after successful people, right? You want to learn from people who are being successful. But to go against your own personality and try to be someone you're not, in your own head, like from your own point of view, you might think like, oh yeah, like maybe I'm fooling people, they don't know. But it's funny, like I believe that people can see right through that. People can see and sense when you're not being truly authentic and you're trying to pretend you're someone that you're really not. And I kind of fell into that trap early on with my entrepreneurship, was trying to be too much like other people and do what they're doing and talk the way they're talking. And I it didn't feel authentic. It felt like I was in it just to make money. It felt like I am trying to grow my personal brand simply for the purpose of making money, which obviously, like, we're building brands to make money, but that was my sole driving factor. And I was finding some success, but not the level of success that I hoped for. When I flipped the switch in my head, and instead of solely thinking about money, how can I make more money? Like, what do I have to say to make more money? And I started truly thinking, how can I help people find success? How can I help people achieve the goal that they've set out to achieve. And for me, that's building a successful brand on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped worrying so much about like, how am I going to make more money? What do I got to do to make more money? And I just thought, I need people to get success. Like, I want people to truly be successful because I've seen how it changed my life, and I want to see it change their life. And when I made that mindset shift, I started noticing that I was becoming more authentic. I was talking to people in a more authentic way, and not so much in like a gimmicky, salesy way, and just saying it directly how it is, and saying, look, this is difficult. There's challenges in trying to build a brand on Amazon, but I'm here to help you. Like, I truly want you to have success. And I started seeing students find success, and it made me happy. Like, I felt like a proud parent, and it just kind of built from there. And that's, I think, what made a huge difference for me is don't try to be someone that you're not, and understand that it's going to take some time. Like, don't be so frustrated thinking, like, if you're listening right now and you're like, I don't really know what is my personal brand, like, what is my voice, what am I trying to achieve? Like, it's okay, it's going to take time. It's going to take some time to find your groove and mold and shape, the type of brand that you're building. But at the bare bones of it, focus on truly helping others, and the money will come.
I really like what you said. I myself experienced a similar shift, is that when you push it so hard and you go, it felt like standing in front of the Titanic and going like turn ship,
Mhm.
turn.
Mhm.
And the ship's not turning. And you go, man, what am I not doing right? And then you recognize this intensity that you have being so focused on the outcome, the monetary outcome. And when you shifted to making it about the people, right, Andy?
Mhm.
And you go, this is where you shift the money to the impact, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and that's a question I ask my clients all the time. I said, is it a monetary or an impact goal? Did you have that shift where you went away from the money into the impact? Was that a conscious moment for you?
It kind of was, actually, in a way. It was actually Gary Vaynerchuk, and I know people have all sorts of opinions about Gary Vaynerchuk and the way he presents his content, but he was saying, he kind of went through a phase on social media where he was saying, you know, focus on kindness, 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 kindness. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm a kind of person. Like, I'm not a rude person in any way. But I kind of, for me, the way that I kind of interpreted that whole message from him was, focus on the people. Focus on the people. Focus on them. Focus on them. Stop focusing on yourself. I was so concerned about my own paycheck, my own income, that I wasn't truly focusing on the people that I was trying to provide, valuable content for. So yeah, it was, in a way, kind of like a little bit of an aha moment. Maybe not in like one single day, but in one short period of time, that I kind of realized I need to make this switch and actually focus more on the people and not so much myself.
I really love that. And so when you made that shift and you said, I am not going to be one of those that, 4-hour work week promising, you make an extra $100,000 a day by just sleeping. But when you shift it into, how can I really help this person to achieve their goal? Uh, did that help you to identify who you were as your brand? Is that when that started to shift as well, in the more honesty? Because then, I mean, the language shifts when you make it about people. I mean, it shifts automatically. It has to.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, as far as kind of how that impacted my own personal brand and the way I talked and my messaging and everything, was I stopped saying what I thought people wanted to hear, and I actually listened to them and started providing them what they actually needed. And I think that was kind of like the switch in my head of going from like sales mode to helping mode.
Mm.
Because instead of like my pitches and my messaging and my content all being like, oh, this other guru, this is what they do, like, this is how they talk and they look really successful, so I'm just gonna like do what they do and just like throw it at your face. And people are like, they're trying to tell me like, no, like that's not what I want. That's not what I need, or that's not how I want to be talked to. I, when I made that switch and I said, I'm going to start actually listening to my followers, listening to, people who enjoy my content or want to learn from me, and asking them, what do you truly need? How can I truly help you be successful with this? And as I started to get more feedback and I started to do that more and more, that's when I started realizing I need to talk to these people the way that they actually need to hear it, and not the way that I think they need to hear it. I'm not pushing some sales message that I learned from some course or some other guru. I'm actually talking to them as a human, like as a friend, as a relationship, and genuinely saying like, how can I help you? Like, what do you need? And they, respond, and then I can talk to them in a way that actually resonates with them. And that's kind of helped me go from, trying to be some guru salesy person to actually trying to develop relationships.
And how did that affect your results?
It definitely helped. I can definitely say I'm doing a lot better now than I was 2 years ago when I was trying to push things, off my own philosophy versus actually, listening and talking with my audience.
I love that. I love that a lot. Yes, I I I, I I think you said something very important that I really want to point out again, is that the being you is what sells most. But a lot of times people don't know who they are because they are buried under their wants and desires, or what they think their wants and desires are. And um, I'm going to ask you a provocative question here. Did did your son have something to do with that shift in values?
Honest, yeah, honestly, it really did. And it's funny that you brought that up, because the birth of my son actually completely changed the trajectory of my online businesses. I've been doing this whole online business game for about 8 years now. Like I was saying in the beginning, I've done all sorts of businesses, drop shipping, YouTube, all sorts of different things. And up until the birth of my son, for the previous 6 years, I had some minor success here and there, but I was still, working a corporate job. Even earlier, I was going to school. And so it wasn't really a level of success where it's like, I can be a full time entrepreneur. But when my son was born, my whole mindset kind of changed. It went from me, like I want this for me, for me, for me, to my family, my son. How can I spend more time with my son? How can I help my wife, care for my son? And it also actually, in a funny way, it actually completely helped take off all my businesses from Amazon to my own personal brands, because I really had to get creative and get super focused. Because before my son was born, when it was, just me and my wife, I had all the time in the world. Like, I mean, obviously I had a job and stuff, but there was really no one else that I was really taking care of. I was just taking care of myself. My wife, she can take care of herself. So we were kind of just taking care of ourselves. And it was like, oh yeah, life was really chill. But when my son was born, for anyone listening, this. If you have kids, you know how much time they take up and how much attention they need. And so I had this like realization, like, wow, I really don't have as much time as I thought I did. Or I used to have a whole bunch of time that I wasted. So I had to get super hyper focused and really say, okay, I got to be really efficient with my time. I got to be really focused and make sure I'm making the most of the time that I do have, so that I can spend time with my son and build my businesses. And all a combination of all of those things, the focus, the mindset shift, that really, I think, impacted my business, because I can really pinpoint since that time my businesses have grown 10, 20x what they had been before my son.
Right. Congratulations. Fantastic. Yes. I mean, I'm the mother of a now 29-year-old, and she's about to get married, and I expect a very similar transformation. She's in the process of figuring out, um, what she can do to sell. So she's looking into, into some of the Amazon dropship stuff to see if she can build a business so that she can have babies, because she wants to, she doesn't want to have a 9 to 5 job. She wants to be there
Mhm.
for her children. So I relate to that, but I agree with you. I think that this is really important to understand in the journey of an entrepreneur, is that when you shift the focus away from yourself, on whether that is make it about your clients, or when your value changes, that there's something else that's really, really important to you, like your family, your son, your wife, that you become a lot more efficient. You stop putzing around, uh, because your value system has shifted. And with that value system, and I bet that's when you got very clear about your brand, your personal brand, because you knew now what you stood for, much, much, much clearer than you did before. So thank you for sharing that. I know, we don't always dive into the personal stuff, but I just felt that that was something that probably was important to hear for our audience. So going back to what would be like a thing that you would want our audience to take away from this interview?
One big takeaway, aside from obviously we've talked a lot
Awesome
about
takeaways
branding.
we already have. Yes.
Yeah. The funny thing is when you asked that question, something immediately came to my head. And I don't know that it really has a ton to do with branding, but I think if it came to my head, it's probably something I should share. And it's, do not care about the opinions of others or what other people think. That completely changed my life. I was the type of person who was so self-conscious. Like, I was so paranoid in high school. I was so paranoid about what people thought of me, people judging me, the way I looked or whatever. And I was so afraid to talk to people. I wouldn't talk to strangers. I wouldn't talk to adults. Like, as a kid, I was super shy because I was so worried about what other people were thinking or judging me. You have to get over that, and I know a lot of us do struggle with that, and I continue to struggle with it, but that's what completely changed my life. And now I post, my face all over YouTube, and I have a podcast, and my parents make fun of me all the time, like, you were so shy and quiet, now you just throw yourself out there. But I stopped worrying about the opinions of others. And that's what I would say is, if like I could leave one final thing with you, whether you're currently building a business, thinking of building a business, is develop that mindset of, I'm not going to let a rude comment on an Instagram post destroy my business. I'm not going to let, a message, a hurtful message, or, some snarky comment from a family member completely derail my business or my confidence. Believe in what you're doing, and go for it. If you feel in your heart, hey, I want to start this business or this business, go for it. And don't worry about what people are judging you about and saying your idea is dumb, or go get a real job, or you should do this or that. If you believe in it and your heart is telling you to go for it, I truly believe that you should go for it.
I love that. Thank you so much. And so tell us about your podcast and where we can find you, and how would somebody who wants to know more about you reach out and connect with you?
Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity. If you're a podcast listener, I have my own podcast about selling on Amazon specifically, where I help people learn how to launch their own brands on Amazon. If you just search any podcast platform for selling on Amazon with Andy Isom, you'll find it right there. And then I just have a simple basic website, www.andyisom.com, that has links to all my resources as well.
And your Instagram, Twitter handle?
Yeah, I've got links to those on my website, but you can also find me on Instagram or Twitter at Andy Isom 100K.
Yes, and we'll put it in the show notes as well, so people know where to find you. This has been really awesome. I thank you so much for being here, and keep up the excellent work. And yeah, I'm always grateful for a wonderful conversation. And this is Beate Gillette, the Growth Architect. And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Gillette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.